Persona 3 is bad. Persona 4 is bad. Persona 5 is bad. Do Persona fans even like their games? This tweet is a joke, but this is genuinely the state of the Persona discourse because the people who have nothing better to do than shit on everything are always the loudest. The Silent Hill 2 remake hasn't even properly come out yet as of recording this, and people have already laid down their definitive judgment. So, in the spirit of just being fucking miserable, I'm gonna talk about Persona 3. Spoilers ahead, so beware. Before Reload had come out, Persona 3 was the hardest to approach for newcomers. If Reload didn't exist, I'd recommend Persona 5 Royal to someone who wants to try Persona. I think this is also dependent on your fondness for turn-based JRPGs, but there's very few people that I would recommend Persona 3 FES to. People always say that the beginning of a Persona game is the hardest to get through, but of the big three that Atlas actually cares about, Persona 3's is the fucking worst, because Tartarus is the fucking worst. AI-controlled party members, the XP gain, the tiredness mechanic where the characters can just peace out or perform worse during the fight. All of this is at its worst in the beginning. I really don't care if these mechanics are supposed to make it feel realistic. It's tedious. Persona 3's strengths lie in its story and its visuals, which is genuinely the best of the big three. But then Persona 3 Portable said, fuck that. No cutscenes, we're going full visual novel for this one. I mean, I'm not blaming them for it because, you know, hardware limitations, but what saddens me is that there are several good things about Portable that aren't present in other versions of Persona 3. The tiredness mechanic doesn't affect you inside Tartarus anymore, you get a guard button, you can control party members, and on top of that you get a female protagonist to play as, with social links that feature male party members, and she has her own cool soundtrack. A major flaw of the original Persona 3 is that you are forced to romance all of the female social links, which means you will inevitably end up with a harem even if you don't want it, because that's how romance works in real life, right? You hang out with someone 8 times and then they fall for you, right? Portable didn't change this for the male playthrough, but it allowed you to choose who you were dating as the female protagonist. Despite all of the additions, I actually think this is the worst way to experience the game because one of the best features of Persona 3 is gone, and Persona 3 FES's additional story content, The Answer, is also gone. If only there was a version that combined all of the positives of Persona 3's variants.
I'm not brave, but I kept trying, not strong enough, but I kept going, with all the hardship around knowing that if I don't fight, I'll forever be mourning with pain. If I give up, that's an automatic loss for me in a ring for my enemies, can't let it be. Took a few knockouts to understand the game, now I'm ready for the ring, yo, time for the king. Wearing the armbands to see succeed, be in a state of no fear, fixed like a spree team. As we proceed, no guarantees, as we take these steps to a destiny.
Stop, I love Reload and I would take it over Persona 3 FES any day, but this is still not a definitive version of Persona 3, and honestly, I wasn't expecting it to be one. The small details in Persona 3 that I liked, such as the party members adjusting themselves to corner the enemy, and bigger ones, like the cutscenes being so raw and visceral, are not carried over. The highest form of praise that I can give this game is that it actually made Tartarus fun. Every time I'd come back to Tartarus, it felt fresh because of the new mechanics they were introducing. I enjoyed seeing all of the flashy Theurgy attacks and finding the special doors and finding the special clock. I loved seeing their new outfits and all of the new all-out attack screens. But the unfortunate reality is that they didn't cater to others who actually enjoyed the challenge of the original Persona 3. I don't mind all of my attacks being busted because my enjoyment does not stem from 30 hours of grinding, it stems from the social aspects. But I'm not stupid. I know that I'm not the only one playing these games, and I know it's unbalanced. And there are many things that I can nitpick this game for. Visually, Reload is not on the same level as the original. Reload is stunning, but the original? Come on. Cinematically, they went fucking hard. Especially in The Answer. There's also this feeling of emptiness sometimes in Reload. Let's take the dorm in FES and the dorm in Reload. Even though the room is pretty much the same, it feels incredibly empty in Reload because of the size of everything. Everything's been scaled up in the remake, because you can see everything so clearly, both in terms of resolution and just graphically. The space feels like it's missing something even though it isn't. These two versions of the dorm are pretty much identical. The music. I've always loved the music in Persona games, and Reload is no exception, especially with the new tracks. It's just that some of Reload's versions of the old songs don't hit as hard anymore. I think the best track to showcase this on is Master of Tartarus. Whenever this track appears in the original Persona 3, you know you're in for a fight. So just listen to this for a minute. drums are crunchy and loud, and it's so raw and it's all up in your eardrums. Now listen to Reload's version. It doesn't sound bad, I still like it. It just doesn't feel like I'm fighting for my life anymore, which I guess you could say fits Reload's balancing. A really dumb complaint that I've heard about the music in Reload is that the lyrics are cringe or something like that. Like Persona lyrics haven't been stupid in the past.
Flash rhymes, quarter with spangles, out some sounds and at times wangles, 3 dots connect to rectangles, just like music sounds connect and rambles.
So, what's the point of this video? Well, I found the answer to that in the answer. The 30-hour continuation of Persona 3's story, the main big addition that separates Persona 3 from FES. In my opinion, it is an unnecessary addition to Persona 3 that showcases the worst traits of Persona 3. Even though I thought the story in it was not needed, I still thought it was good. Unfortunately, to get to the good part, you have to do hours of a different version of Tartarus with no compendium and at a fixed difficulty. Reload's version, episode Aigis, at least brings the quality of life changes over to it, but it's still boring.
Man, it's just explore, 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 all freaking day. Talk about boring.
And it unfortunately highlighted the flaws of Reload, like the cutscenes, again. What I realized is that the answer was always ass. The one thing that's remained consistent in the different versions of Persona 3 is the story. And the story, in my opinion, has always been good. But there's only so much that they can improve upon in particular cases. Remakes will never be replacements for their originals, but people act as though they have to be, and that annoys me. And it pains me so much that 70% of the answer is just boring fights, because the story that exists is, again, good. Both in the original and in Reload's version. A lot of the story moments in the answer make me love Persona 3's cast even more.
Listen, I know it hurts. Believe me. It hurts so much I can't stand it.
It's unfortunate that Reload doesn't incorporate everything that people love about Persona 3, but it's still a great game because it already had great foundations to rely upon. On top of that, Reload gave me more time to appreciate the story and the characters in both the journey and the answer because the combat was less jarring. But I hope at least that with all of the time that they've spent on Persona 3, Atlus will finally learn that God being the final boss in Persona 4 and 5 is fucking stupid. Please, don't do that shit again. It only works with Persona 3. Subscribe and I'll see you next time.
Every man's gotta fight the fear. On the first two, I made a shit thoughts provoke the new era. Become a bit terror, but my only rival is my shadow. We run the plane back and this my own era. Get low to the ground, it's getting better like I told you before. Double up a dead road cheddar. L to the J, say stay laced. Here's my car, me, boy, a flush, and I'm the ace.